to give the floor to Mr. Pancini from MITA just to probably explain a little bit and also, probably you can try to, how to say in English, my English is now not working. You can try to explain my doubts on why I was like wondering if this is not exaggerated, what the Commission also basically said.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, honorable members. This is a great opportunity to address you today on a very important issue and to explain our position on political ads. So actually, I'm here to explain why Meta has made the difficult decision to stop offering political, electoral, and social issue advertising in Europe as of October 6. And this is in response to Indido, to the European Union's transparency and targeting of political advertising regulation that was approved by the co-regulators. I want to be clear. We fully respect the intent of the law. We believe that it's important to highlight the unintended consequences, not to advocate for changes, but because the impact on personalized advertising and by extension on democratic engagement and public discourse of this piece of legislation. Now, first, let me clarify why we can no longer offer political ads in Europe. So the TTPA, so the legislation that I mentioned before, introduced extensive restrictions on how platforms can advertise ads. These include strict limitation on the use of data for ad targeting, advertiser, so in other words, the subject that are in the scope of the law, are prevented from reaching their intended audiences, resulting in less relevant ads, complex consent mechanism. Beyond the existing consent for personalized advertising that we have already in place for every advertising, the TPA requires a separate specific consent for political advertising, which risks confusing users and complicating compliance. Third, ambiguity and complexity, as was said, by the way, as was mentioned by MEP Gozzi. Despite extensive engagement with the co-legislators, the regulation remains overly complex and ambiguous. This is aggravated by the very blurred and wide definition of political ads and social ads, leaving a product or withdraw from political ads, so basically making the product not useful anymore, with no guarantee that any solution of compliance would be deemed compliant accordingly to then the application of the law. Now, let me be very clear. We have full respect for the law, but we want to highlight the unintended consequences of this piece of legislation. We respect the increased transparency and trust in political advertising. This is out of discussion. There is nothing in the transparency rules that we think is problematic. However, irrespective of Meta's decision to stop serving political and issue ads in Europe, the current rules have significant unintended effects by imposing additional restriction to personalization. More in details. The current rules reduce effectiveness for advertisers, so for political parties and NGOs that are using our services. Political and social issue advertisers, including with targeted, relevant messages on our platforms, in line with this legislation. This undermines campaigns to inform citizens about important issues, including voter participation and public health. By restricting personalized ads, the regulation limits voters' access to a comprehensive and relevant information. People will see fewer messages tailored to their interests and needs. Process that also was highlighted by publishers recently that find as well complicated to almost impossible to comply with the legislation. The TPA will have, therefore, a huge impact on civil society. We acknowledge that. The rules apply to all the advertisers, commercial, non-profit, and political organizations, making it harder for civil society to raise awareness of funds for causes that matter to Europeans, and that's something that we are not happy with. So let me also remind our commitment to the democratic discourse. We remain committed to protecting elections and supporting democratic debate. We have invested over 30 billion and employ more than 40,000 people globally to ensure safety and security and transparency. The EU, we also show our commitment by putting into practice the DSA election guidelines. And we are part of the new EU Rapid Response System, the mechanism that was created by the Commission to address elections across the EU. So our decision to stop offering social and political ads is specific to the EU. It does not affect our approach elsewhere. And importantly, people in the EU can still debate about politics, share political content organically on our platform. So this does not have any impact on the way political discourse happen on the platform. It's only about paid advertising. Let me now close confirming that Meta decision is not a protest against the law, but a necessary response to its requirements. We respect the regulatory framework, but it's important to recognize two key consequences of the TTPA. First, the regulation now completely removes the economic basis for offering the service. Second, the current rules penalize consequences for democratic engagement, civil society, and public information. I'm very happy to answer to any question you may have.
Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of the members want to come in. You just have to signal me if you wanted to speak. I have already Andreas Schwab, who was the first one.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman. I would like to ask two questions, one to Mr. Pancini and one to the European Commission. To Mr. Pancini, I would like to remind that platforms with huge business interests using business value, they have also responsibilities, and therefore I admired his sentence that they are always acting in full respect of the law and that they want to participate, but they see these difficulties that he has been outlining. So my question to Mr. Pancini is, would it be helpful if there is no second advertisement, but only one opt-in for advertisement in general, covering like that also political advertising? It could be said that in a democracy, when you take part in the public debate, and in that case in the digital public debate on a platform, that you have to accept that political parties play a role there as well, and that you cannot separate yourself only from political advertisement, accepting all the rest. This is my question to Mr. Pancini. My question to the European Commission, however, is that the theoretical logic that has been outlined on the proposal is in the member states. And we have to consider that although we have always been having together the line that what is allowed online is also allowed offline and the other way around, in that context may has the field at all. And if there is not a need to reconsider again, if all the rules that are needed online because of the discretion of publication and people standing behind